Parker, also in Portland, Oregon. Parker, what's going on?
Hello?
Hello. You are live. What's up?
Hey. Let's see. So so I've been sort of looking into this interesting topic recently. It was kind of like sort of, I guess, sort of chimpanzee intelligence overall. Mm-hmm. And I was just, seeing how like incredibly intelligent they were, and just sort of doing, well, I guess more so kind of with the other kind of the bonobo ape.
Okay.
Which is, yeah. So I was just saying like how just human they were. Then I was doing research about the concept of like a humanzee, like a human sort of ape hybrid, and then I was just sort of wondering like what like if that were to happen, like what implications would that have like on religion, like in terms of what we think of the soul, or how people have like specifically free will or something.
That's interesting because my understanding, again, we're talking about anthropology a lot today. My understanding of anthropology is that that's already happened, that at some point in the course of human history that we did interbreed with other ape species, including specifically Neanderthal, right? That's the thing they always talk about in pop science, right? We have like Neanderthal DNA, stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I agree. I think it comes down to whether the soul itself actually makes sense as a concept. To me, it just doesn't really make sense. I don't see how we have kind of room for it in our bodies, I also think that, and I think anthropology is probably the most atheist science out there, as far as it probably has more atheists than like any other science. Maybe physicists, I don't know. There's probably studies on that actually, but
well, studying all those cultures,
yeah,
you start seeing like themes that kind of work together, and you start going, oh, well, I guess this is just part of humanity to make up these stories.
Yeah, I think the thing is the greater religious community as a whole. I very rarely see acknowledgments of the findings and studies of anthropology. I see physics and stuff with like the Kalam cosmological argument, but I don't see as many people talking about the divergence of, humanity, as it were, unless we're talking about like just evolution arguments in general and just saying that those are bunk. But, we have very specific evidence of specific hominid species and stuff, which is, kind of fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, I do believe humans and, apes had, previous ancestors,
yeah.
but a lot of sort of people, I mean, on the creationist side nowadays, they kind of dismiss them saying, oh, it's all ape or all human. And so I was just imagining, like, if there were to be like a modern sort of human chimp or bonobo hybrid, then it would be like extremely hard to just dismiss it. Like I was like, on one time or a few times on the Atheist Experience, Matt Dillahunty brought up like this one sort of thing where, the case of a split brain patient where one side was an atheist and the other side was a theist.
Yes.
And that kind of, I mean, in and of itself kind of demolishes the concept of soul, but like overall in the religious community, it didn't have a big effect. And I think that was partly because it's not particularly tangible, like in the sense they could say, well, maybe he was faking it or something, or also it's not like something you can see and just look at.
Sure. Like how many split brain patients do you know, right? Like most people probably don't know any, so.
The creepy thing is like those people existed before you split their brain, right? But just one was running the show. And it really kind of terrifying to think like right now we're the one running the show, but how many of us are in there?
Yeah.
Just having to watch,
So,
like in your own little prison.
If you're familiar with Holy Kool-Aid, Thomas Westbrook, I happen to know that he is actually making a video about this right now, and he's going to be releasing it, I think, this week, pretty soon, specifically about like split brain patients and how the soul doesn't work as a concept and stuff. So yeah, if you like that kind of stuff, look forward to that. But yeah, I agree with you, Parker. I think it's a good argument, and I think Thomas realized this too, and that's why he's making this video, that it holds a lot of weight against this idea of the soul if we understand that parts of human anatomy are actually kind of controlling the body more so than what we think as like one unified being. You know, like if you start to split us apart, and suddenly, you know, we're still autonomous in some ways, and that kind of negates this idea of one unified soul kind of controlling the whole picture, right?
The other crazy one is aliens. Like if there's, you know, in the same way that you're talking about the soul, or if you had some kind of weird like clone with a chimp or something, but like if there's aliens out there, and not a lot of Christians will say, well, of course there's no aliens. You know, they kind of accept that the universe is pretty enormous. But if they are, like, wouldn't Jesus Christ had to go to their planet and die as well? I mean, how many times is he getting crucified?
You know, if you're Mormon, that wouldn't affect your beliefs that much.
Well, there's the Kolob.
Yeah.
The Kolob Jesus.
Yeah. But I don't know, maybe Jesus died for the sins of aliens, too. You know, he's got a big plan.
It'd be nice if he did.
Yeah.
It'd be a dick move to not die for them.
I guess so.
I don't know what they do.
I don't know what they do. But anyway. Yeah, Parker, it's a good point to bring up. I'm glad you got to talk about this with us.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm just looking at the clock, or I guess the show's almost over. Let's see. So
we're getting close to it. We do have some other callers. If that's all you wanted to talk about, then that's great. And if you have something else, you know, you can always call next week.
Let's see. Oh, well, there's just one thing. It'll just take a second. This weird story relating to Bigfoot I overheard people talking about in McDonald's one day, but there are these old men. They were talking more about heaven, different dimensions, saying like, oh, they thought that heaven, you know, could just be a different dimension. And he was saying, like, as an example, he was like, oh, I had this friend, and he, you know, saw Bigfoot walking on his property one day, took out his gun, shot it, and disappeared in a flash of light. You know, I think that's a case for different dimensions. Just casually mentioning Bigfoot, like vanishing to a different dimension or something. I just remembered that hearing you guys talk about Bigfoot.
Yeah, I don't know about Bigfoot vanishing to different dimensions. I always, you know, I read about the Mandela effect sometimes. I'm sure you're aware of that. You know, this idea.
That was cool.
You know, at some point in our history, like we shifted to another dimension, and the big evidence people always bring up was like, oh, the Berenstain Bears is actually the Berenstain Bears, right? And there's some people who say, oh, I'm from the Berenstain Bears dimension. You know, it's just like, it seems, I don't know. Again, it's this idea of just circumstantial evidence, though. And that effect, by the way, was named after when Nelson Mandela died. Supposedly, there are some people who believe that, or at least understood that Nelson Mandela was already dead, and like the 80s or the 90s, or I think is the story. I don't know. And the
people, a bunch of them.
Yeah, people have kind of collected this phenomenon of different things, but you know, like.
Or Queens, We Are the Champions.
Yeah,
that one's weird.
Yeah, you know, and I don't know. It's so circumstantial. Like it could so just be added up to people misremembering things, right? I mean,
but we're all misremembering it. That's what's kind of cool.
That is kind of weird.
It's kind of cool. Not that I'm saying there's any credence to the Mandela effect, but it is a cool thing.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. You know, like I definitely. You know, like, you're not going to convince me that we're from another dimension just because we misremember the Berenstain Bears, right? But, you know, I can see why people would think, like, oh, maybe there's something weird going on, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, well, Parker, that was cool. I'm glad we got to talk about the Mandela effect, because that's something I would love if somebody called about the Mandela effect and we got something on that. But anyway, I appreciate the call, man, and I look forward to hearing from you again.